Chapter 345. Plop. With a sound, a piece of beef weighing about 4 to 5 caddies was thrown into the sea. As the beef entered the water, all the fish in this area went crazy. No fish was vegetarian. All the fish ate meat, including carp, crucian carp, silver carp, and so on. These fish were all omnivorous. If there were vegetables, they would eat. If there was no feed, they would eat feed. If there was meat, they would eat meat. Even the little phoenix at home would eat meat. Thinking about those fish that had just given birth, it was clear whether they would eat their babies. Surrounding this piece of beef, regardless of whether it was an adult or an underage one, Jianghai raised it or a wild one here. All the fish rushed up crazily and began to bite this piece of beef. The senses of animals were much more sensitive than that of humans. They naturally felt that the spiritual energy contained in this piece of beef was extremely beneficial to them. Not only could it strengthen their bodies, but it could also fill their stomachs. There was nothing better than this. However, just as these small fish were crazily biting there, a huge black shadow suddenly swept up from the bottom of the sea. Some fish that felt something was wrong ran away first, but there were always some fish that were slower to react. These slow fish were destined to become the dinner of other fish, such as Big Dumb. Bang! With a splash, Big Dumb swallowed the whole piece of meat and the fish around it into his stomach. At the same time, he jumped out of the water. Under the light of the setting sun, Jianghai, who was sitting on the boat, couldn't help but smile and squint his eyes. He really grew a lot. Looking at Big Dumb, who fell back into the sea and then slowly swam over, Jianghai smiled with relief. In fact, among all of Jianghai's pets, although Xiaobai and Little Yellow were close to him, Big Dumb benefited the most. Jianghai fed Big Dumb a total of 4 drops of blood and 3 pieces of spiritual energy. Could be said that Jianghai made this shark smarter than a dolphin. In addition, he gave it beef with spiritual energy from time to time, so it really grew very fast. After all, Xiaobai, Xiao Huang, and the others had to appear in front of others. If they caused any trouble, it would be unnecessary. However, Big Fool was in the sea. If Jianghai did not allow him to appear in front of humans, then he would not appear. It was that simple. Originally, when he fished it up, it was already an adult. However, with the breakthrough of spiritual energy, it could continue to grow indefinitely. However, in winter the growth rate was indeed slower. As spring came and the flowers bloomed, Big Idiot's height really shot up very quickly. For example, after a month of not seeing him, this guy had grown by at least 1 meter. This made Jianghai feel very gratified. A tiger shark was generally 3 to 4 meters long and weighed only 159 kilograms. However, Big Dumb was already more than 7 meters long and almost 8 meters long. Even if it encountered a great white shark, it would have the advantage in terms of length. After all, not all great white sharks were more than 8 meters long. Most of them were only about 5 meters long, and the best ones were only 4 meters long, which was much shorter than Big Dumb. At the same time, it did not have some problems such as lack of sensitivity, speed, and physical strength because of its growth. One must know that it grew bigger by eating spiritual energy, and its genetic chain had already broken through. Now, Big Dumb weighed about 6 tons and had a mouth full of big teeth which made people feel cold just by looking at it. Except for the overlord of the sea, the killer whale, it was really not afraid of anyone. Moreover, even if it faced a killer whale, the outcome was still uncertain. One must know that it was much more agile than a killer whale. At the same time, sharks are fish and do not need to take a breath. When a killer whale goes up to take a breath, it will be the time of its defeat. My goodness, it has grown so big. Patting Big Dumb's head, Jianghai was very gratified. He didn't know how big this guy would grow in the end, but Jianghai understood that if Big Dumb was exposed now, it would probably be world news. While patting Big Dumb's head, Jianghai put the meat into the water and prepared to feed it and talk to it about coastal patrol. However, after Big Dumb ate a few pieces first, he held one of them in his mouth and plunged into the sea. Big Dumb, Big Dumb. Looking at Big Dumb swimming quickly into the deep sea, Jianghai was stunned. What's going on? Hearing Jianghai's call, Big Dumb just swam around in the water as if to ask Jianghai to wait, and then plunged into the deep sea. Looking at it, this made Jianghai's open mouth helplessly closed again. Since it asked him to wait, Jianghai was ready to wait and see. Just when Jianghai was bored, 2 strong fins in the distance quickly approached from afar. Looking at these 2 fins, Jianghai was no stranger to them. The first one was his Big Dumb, but the second one was much smaller than the first one. It was almost the same size as Big Dumb's original fin, which made Jianghai a little confused. Just when Jianghai was a little confused, Big Dumb swam to the side of Jianghai's boat, turned around and was ready to float up again, but the shark behind it didn't think so. It swam to the side of Jiang Hai's boat and directly hit it. With a muffled sound, Jiang Hai's boat was shaken by the shark. Fortunately, this shark itself wasn't big and Jiang Hai's boat was also assembled with a lot of money, so it was extremely sturdy. If it was an ordinary wooden boat, the frame may be broken at once. Just when Jiang Hai was surprised, the shark spun around and accelerated again to hit Jiang Hai's boat. But this time it didn't hit because before it hit, Big Dumb had already rushed over. Without saying anything, it directly hit the side of the shark, directly knocking it out. Sharks can't speak, otherwise this shark would be depressed to death. Didn't Big Dumb bring it here? Why is he attacking it now? However, because of Big Dumb's attack, this shark became a lot more honest. It swam aside obediently and didn't dare to go forward. At this time, Big Dumb swam to the side of the boat, leaned his body out, and took the initiative to turn his body over, exposing himself in front of Jiang Hai. After a shark turned over, it will lose consciousness and be slaughtered. It did this to apologize. After all, in its heart, Jiang Hai is the most important master. However, when the shark saw Big Dumb's action, it swam faster in an instant. Jiang Hai can feel that it was anxious, but it didn't dare to get close. It could only circle outside. Forget it, what's the situation? Seeing its appearance, Jiang Hai was even more confused. He casually said, not caring whether Big Dumb understood or not. Jiang Hai turned it over again. After Big Dumb was turned over, it stared at Jiang Hai with its small eyes without eyelids, then swam to the shark over there and then swam over with the shark. But this time, the shark didn't dare to act rashly, it just kept swimming beside Jiang Hai's boat. It can be seen that it was still a little afraid of Jiang Hai, or to be exact, it was afraid of Big Dumb. This is your girlfriend? Looking at the shark that kept circling with Big Dumb, Jiang Hai couldn't help but be a little surprised, then he smiled and asked. He couldn't tell which fish was male and which one was female. However, looking at Big Fool's appearance, it's hard for Jiang Hai not to think in this direction. Although he doesn't know about sharks, Jiang Hai can see that this shark shouldn't be a sand tiger shark. It should be bigger than a sand tiger shark. Isn't it said that all species have reproductive isolation? What's the situation with these two guys? But in any case, it seems that Big Dumb is going to be a father soon. With a curious mentality, Jiang Hai deliberately took a few photos of this shark. He planned to go back and ask Edward Anderson. This old fisherman knows much more than Jiang Hai, he should know this kind of shark. Congratulations, congratulations. You're going to spread your wings in my fish farm. But that's good too. My fish farm will have more security guards in the future. Here, take this piece of meat. Don't attack me next time. Looking at Big Dumb's seemingly happy face, Jiang Hai also smiled. After injecting a scale's spiritual energy into a piece of beef, he threw it into the water. Although Big Dumb also knew that the spiritual energy was beneficial to it, it didn't snatch it but let the shark eat it. The shark didn't hesitate and swallowed the beef directly, then it swam faster. Well, it still needs some time to digest. You should get along well with each other. I'm here today to tell you that if you have time in the future, you can help to patrol the fishing ground. If you see any wild animals swimming into my manor from the water, you have to be responsible for intercepting them. If there are any bad guys that you don't know who enter my territory from the sea with weapons, you have to stop them. Patting the head of Big Dumb, who was a little anxious, Jiang Hai poured the rest of the beef into the sea, and then said something to it. After that, Jiang Hai left first and Big Dumb, his girlfriend, finished the beef. Although the spiritual energy contained in these beef was less than 1/10,000th of the spiritual energy in Jiang Hai's area, it was still spiritual energy. Eating it will only be better for the body and it won't be bad. Looking at the dorsal fins of the two sharks constantly drawing circles on the water and finally sinking into the water, Jiang Hai's face also showed a gratified smile. He didn't expect Big Dumb to find a companion, but thinking about himself, Jiang Hai couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed. It seems that I have no right to criticize others. Thinking about Feng Yunshan and Ai Xiaoxi who were still in the villa, Jiang Hai lowered his head and pondered for a while. He knew the thoughts of these two women. They were not the kind of people who would accept handouts, and most importantly, Jiang Hai didn't want the relationship between them to be defined as a relationship of money. He couldn't give them a promise, but if he just let them go, Jiang Hai was also a little unwilling. Chapter 348. Just when Feng Yunshan felt that she couldn't figure it out, Ai Xiaoxi behind her had already calculated a number with her mobile phone. 99997 billion? Well, it seems that we have indeed hooked up with a big shot. Looking at the numbers on the phone, Feng Yunshan felt that his tongue was a little tied. For an ordinary person, Billions or even tens of billions of funds were indeed a bit too much. How can there be so much? Jiang Fei still has to pay taxes. In the end, it would be good if there is about 800 million left in his hands. Looking at Feng Yunshan and Ai Xiaoxi's dumbfounded expressions, Daliana also laughed. Sigh, this evil American tax. Hearing that nearly half of the tax would be paid, Ai Xiaoxi and Feng Yunshan were stunned for a moment, then sighed as if the $700 million were taken out from their pockets. But in any case they had a preliminary understanding of Jiang Hai. Jiang Hai was very rich, very rich. His wealth was even beyond their imagination. The two women who originally had some thoughts about Jiang Hai didn't know how to face him at this time. It was not easy to make up their minds. They originally thought that the least benefit was money, but it turned out to be so much. Because they knew that Jiang Hai was busy with such a big business, the two women decided not to disturb Jiang Hai. Instead, they went straight to the winery because they were going to shoot here today. In order to avoid being seen by others, Jiang Hai deliberately gave Dulce Gerard and the others a day off today. Everyone had a rest. Now the grapes were only in the growing period, so they didn't have to look at them all day long. In the morning, after the two people in charge came to take a look, Dulce Gerard and O'Connor Murphy, this pair of master and disciple, went to town. It was said that they went to Sheikh Clive's house as guests. Of course they knew very well what could be said and what could not. They naturally also knew that Clive's eldest daughter was interested in Jiang Hai, so they wouldn't say anything else. After all, he was their boss. When Feng Yunshan and Ai Xiaoxi arrived at the winery, there was already a girl waiting for them there. This girl was none other than Aphrodite Arnold. Last night, after Delina and Marion found out that they were going to help today, they were worried that they wouldn't be able to do a good job, so they specially called Aphrodite at night. In fact, since the day Jiang Hai took Feng Yunshan and Ai Xiaoxi around the winery, Aphrodite's woman's sixth sense told her that these two women must be related to Jiang Hai. Sure enough, when she asked yesterday, Delina and Mary also said that these two women should have had sex with Jiang Hai. Aphrodite was not jealous. After learning about this matter, Delina and Mary, Aphrodite, these two women's. Hearing Jiang Hai's words, Belle couldn't help but nod, then patted himself happily. He has such confidence. When it comes to these skills, he is definitely world-class. I know you are good, but you can keep an eye on me 24 hours a day. Besides, you also have to fly a plane and herd cattle, professional. Glancing at Belle, Jiang Hai knew that this guy is not serious, so he couldn't help but be a little serious. Oh boss, to be honest, if you want to find some soldiers, I have a lot of ways, but soldiers are more obedient to the government. If you want to find some people who can protect your safety and are loyal to you, even in the Triangle State, there are no such people, and I don't have any friends. Think about it, if I had a friend, I wouldn't have been kicked out. As far as I know, in the entire Triangle State, I am the only freak. Hearing Jiang Hai's serious words, Belle shrugged helplessly. It's not that he doesn't want to introduce people to Jiang Hai, but he really doesn't know who to introduce. Look at what you're doing. But this isn't the way to go. I need to have some guards around me. Jiang Hai listened to Belle's words and couldn't help but scratch his head. This guy is really unlucky, but thinking about his own assets, he can't rest assured if he doesn't hire a few people. Boss, it's a bit difficult for you to find people who are completely trustworthy, but I know a place where the bodyguards are very good. She knew that Selena Gomez would not be able to escape her clutches tonight. When she smiled, Selena Gomez just turned her head and saw this scene. As soon as she saw this smile, she didn't know why, but her heart skipped a beat. She felt that the food might be ruined. She began to think carefully about whether there was anything wrong with her tonight, but she couldn't think of anything. At this moment, she suddenly felt her heart beat suddenly, and then her consciousness began to fade, but her body was very hot. At this moment, she knew that she had unknowingly fallen into a trap. What's wrong? Are you not feeling well? Then let's go home. Looking at Selena Gomez's appearance, Prawalton couldn't help laughing. She was waiting for this moment, and now she was a little anxious. You're tuning in to the Han Lee's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.